Hi, I'm Chris Cohan, and I got 3 words for you. Prune, prune, prune. In gardening, it's very important to prune your plants. If you want to continue to get flowers all summer long, you gotta prune. The first thing in pruning is to make sure you got a good, sharp pair of pruners. I happen to love my Felco number 2s. There are other ones out there, but you know, you got to sharpen them every day because the sharper the blade, the cleaner the cut, and the less chance of your plants getting infected. I'm going to show you how to prune several garden plants. We're going to start with catmint, one of my favorite front of the border plants. It loves it in the sun, it can take it when it's dry, and if you prune it, it'll continue to bloom all summer. Now you can be very selective about it, but let me just show you what you can do. Just cut it way back. See how I'm doing that? Get rid of all of that. Leave some green at the bottom, but cut at least half of it back. And what will happen is this guy will just come back fuller, thicker, and bluer than before. Look at that. It smells good too. Right behind it are spirea. We waited to now to prune it. Typically I'd prune it earlier. These you can prune just with a pair of hedge clippers. Shear off 6, 8 inches, getting off all the flower buds. Just cut it right off like that. And what will happen is a few weeks, you'll get a second bloom. So this small plant will then be full of dainty little pink flowers in about 4 to 6 weeks, depending. We've spoken about pruning roses before, but you can never mention enough. Here you can see the spent flowers. You can also see the hips that are developing. So what happens is all the strength of the rose is then going to go into developing seed. You do not want that. You want the rose to continue to create flowers. So by cutting this off, it'll tell the rose that it needs to produce more flowers. So continue to cut off all the dead flowers down to a leaflet of 5, and I'm throwing it here on the grass, which is bad, but what you have to do is make sure you take all the rose debris away to keep your garden clean and not get it reinfected. It's a pink coneflower. It'll continue to bloom all summer if you cut off the dead flowers. Yes, it's live right now, but if you can see smaller buds that are starting on the side, when this flower starts to be spent, fade, cut that close to the new ones, and that'll shoot them up that much faster. And of course, let's not forget that once you plant to this border, it's also a cutting guard, and you should cut these things regularly and just bring them in the house and enjoy them. Hostas, should I or shouldn't I? Personally, I like to cut off the dead flowers, the dead seed heads. You can leave them if you want, but I like to cut them off, so that way you can just see all the leaf. The same goes for the heuchera. I'm going to cut them back just below the leaf so you don't see it. And then, instead of putting everything in a brown bag and putting it out by the street, a lot of times, you can just throw that stuff back in the garden, it'll decompose, and that'll be your fertilizer. So to make a bouquet, you can just cut things off of the garden. We also have peppermint here. It's a nice green to add to any bouquet, and fragrance as well. You can see how floriferous a butterfly bush can be. Many people forget to prune the dead flowers. If you don't, it'll stop blooming. So go right like this, take off the dead flower, and then you get these new ones starting. Here's the daylily. This is the last flower on this one. These are the seed pods. What's going to happen again is all the strength is going to go into creating the seeds. You want to stop that. You want to send all the power, strength back into the plant to produce new flowers. Cut those off. The hydrangeas finish blooming. You want to cut it back to just above the double leaves, and that'll stimulate the flower buds for next year. The beauty of the Annabelle is it blooms on new growth, so no matter how bad the winter is, you're not going to lose the buds over winter on the old growth. I think that's one reason that Annabelles have become one of my fave garden plants. They love it in the sun, the shade, and they bloom on new growth, so you don't have to worry about how to prune them. And look at those flowers. What's not to love? Today we showed you how to prune various flowers in the garden. There are several things to remember when pruning. One is make sure you get a sharp pair of pruners. It'll make a clean cut and your hands won't get as fatigued. Number two, cut off those dead flowers and stimulate continuing flower all summer long. And three, don't look at it as a chore, look at it as creating bounties of beautiful bouquets. Thank you for joining us today. Look forward to seeing you again. Should I try something else?